What's up, YouTube? It's your girl, the survival queen, Miss Shari. I am so excited to be here with you guys today talking about something that I know all too well. As an over 20-year professional in workforce development, my whole life has been dedicated to helping people change their lives. And the way that I've gone about it is through helping people get employment, helping people connect to careers, helping people become self-sufficient so that they can start new lives and set off new things for their families and next generations to come. So I'm really excited to share this information that I really know all too well, and I hope it's helpful to you. This video is specifically for individuals who may have some challenging backgrounds. I've worked again for a very long time with people of all different backgrounds, individuals who are what we call returning citizens who have some possible criminal convictions in their background, as well as those who don't have a lot of employment or experience. And honestly, in my experience, it doesn't matter if you have a PhD or someone who just graduated from high school. Most individuals are going to be nervous about interviewing. So let's get into it. If you have a challenging background, of course, you're very nervous about the background check and them asking you specific questions about where you were, what you've been doing, especially for those of you that have a gap in your employment. Let's start at the beginning, though. The most important thing when it comes to an interview is your first impression. And it doesn't matter if you are someone who has a felony to someone that has a PhD. If you go into an interview not making a good first impression, you will not get the job. So if you are someone who has a challenging background, this is your time to shine, because you want to make sure that when you give that information about your challenging background, that's the only thing that they really know negative about you. Everything else that you're presenting is going to totally contradict the stereotype that they may have of someone with a background. So when we talk about first impression, first things first is your resume. Okay? A lot of people think it's about when they see you, but the first time the employer truly sees you is your resume. So it is very important that your resume is done professionally, does not have any grammatical mistakes. Make sure that it's formatted correctly, and also make sure that if you do have a background where you've been institutionalized, that you are giving yourself credit for the work, the studies, the training that you have done while incarcerated. As odd as it is to believe, it does not matter where you get the experience as long as you've gotten the experience. It is valuable. So if you took training or classes while you were incarcerated, you need to put that on your resume, okay? You need to also, because it's going to show the employer that on positive things, on things that were helping you grow, all despite the situation that you were in. When you talk a little bit about your background later on in the interview, this is going to demonstrate to the employer that although you may have made a poor decision and found yourself incarcerated, while you were there, you took advantage of the trainings to improve yourself. So it goes a long way. For those of you that lack work experience, if you've done any volunteer work, anything in the community, you want to add that. If you were an usher, if you did something in the church, you want to add that. Any type of volunteer experience also counts in this regard. So your resume is your first way to present yourself professionally and to create a great first impression before they ever meet you. Now, when they meet you, the next thing that's going to be most important, or let me say, if you get a phone call for the interview, it is very important when you know that that you make sure that you are answering calls and correspondence professionally. If someone is calling you from an employer, it is very important that you answer the phone professionally and that you respond that way as well. If you know you are interviewing, oftentimes I've seen individuals get phone calls from employers and unexpectedly and not sound professional when they answer the call, or even in the email communication. All of that is setting the stage, and it is developing a first impression of you prior to you even sitting at the table with the employer. Now, you got your resume, they haven't met you, but it's professional, so they're already seeing you as a professional person. They've called you, they've talked to you, and over the phone, wow, you sound like a very professional person. What do you think comes next? When you get to that interview, you need to make sure that you are dressed to the nines and as professional as possible. Now this again, for someone that has a challenging background, this is your opportunity to, again, negate the stereotype that they may have of you based on your background. So you want to come in there looking professional, smelling professional, make sure that you are groomed extremely well. You want to make sure that your clothes are fitting you well. You want to make sure that you are presenting that you are a professional person and that you are here ready to really work and shine for these individuals. You also want to make sure that your tone and the way that you're speaking to these individuals, again, negates any stereotype that they may have of you, because guess what? We're all human beings, and people are going to have a stereotype of individuals based on reading a resume and seeing FCI Correctional Center. They're going to stereotype you. So it's important that you are doing everything that you can do to negate that when you're there in that interview, right? So you want to make sure, again, that you want to make sure you're responding very professionally, courteously, mannerably, so that, again, they know that this is your professional guy. Now, when you are asked a question about your background, you want to be honest. And I always recommend to people that I work with that you actually write out an answer. When someone asks me, can you tell me about the gaps in your employment? It says here that you were at Cumberland facility from 2011 to 2015. Can you tell me what that was about? You need to be prepared for this question and know that you're not stuttering or seem as if you're caught off guard. This is a question that you need to be prepared for. And it's something that you need to respond to head on, right? So when we do not lie about our backgrounds, because we know that is grounds for you to be terminated. So there's no use in lying. So again, we want to prepare our answer. Get a pen, get a paper, and prepare this statement so that practice and become very familiar with your answer. So when you get into this interview, it's rolling off of your tongue like it's natural. And I say that about interviewing, period. You need to always be prepared and practicing your answer like it's a script. So by the time you're into the interview, it's just rolling off of your lips like, it's natural, okay? So when they ask you about your background, you want to let them know, unfortunately, there was a time in my life where I did not make the right decision. This landed me here. While I was there, I became aware of my own misgivings. I took advantage of these opportunities because I will never make those decisions again. Something to that nature. I'm very happy that you all would even consider me for this opportunity. I know that I'm more than prepared and, more than able to fulfill it. Any consideration that you can give to me. As you can see, while I was there, although it was not the best decision, I definitely took advantage of the opportunities there. I met many people there who gave me great accolades. I got certificates. You see what I'm saying? You want to, yes, acknowledge what happened, but then really triple up on the things that you did since then to benefit and to change who you are. Ever since I've been home, I've made sure that I've reconnected. I've taken classes. I'm back involved in church. I'm involved in my children's lives. Whatever it is, you want to really focus on the future, all right? Don't get stuck in the past. But yes, you have to acknowledge it and then really focus on what you've done to improve yourself since then. Okay. Now, I've worked with an individual who served a lot of time in prison. But while he was there, he took a lot of classes. He got licenses in drafting and architecture. And he found himself an opportunity to be hired as an architecture assistant. And although his employers probably were concerned about his background, because he did these things, his resume was on point. The way he spoke to individuals when he got contacted over the phone. When he came into the interview, he was professionally dressed. He was mannerable. He was very honest and forthright when they asked him questions about his background. But he had also done so much work while he was incarcerated and had the certificates and had the classes and had the skills as well to prove it. They gave him an opportunity. And I'll tell you, once he got the opportunity, this is the most important, he stayed that same person. So a lot of people put this act on during the interview and then get into the job and they can't always fulfill that. this man was able to not only be exactly what he said he was, and that's very important as well, because you want them to hire other individuals who have challenging backgrounds after you, and this is how it happens. When you make a great impression and get selected by this employer and go in there and do a great job, that gives them the trust to avail that opportunity to someone just like you, in the future. So I hope this video helped you. I hope that you know that it does not matter what your background is. Now, there are times that you may have to take baby steps to get back into a position of trust, but the most important thing is getting your foot back in the door so that you can build yourself up to that position of trust. And believe me, it's not something that's going to take 10 years. It's not something that'll even take 5 years. I'll say give yourself a 1 to 3 year plan to get into those positions of trust, okay? And you will be right there. I hope you like this video. Please subscribe and leave any comments or questions that you have in the comment section. Thanks.